Brilliance Audio.
Good Catch by Jennifer Bardsley. Performed by Emma Love and Rudy Sanda.
Attending a wedding was the last thing Marlo Jonas wanted to do the day after a breakup. Yet, here she was in the middle of the Harper Landing Yacht Club, sitting next to the empty seat where her boyfriend, Ryan, was supposed to be. Ex-boyfriend. Last night, after she had finished teaching spin class, Marlo had driven over to Bellevue to surprise him with a Halloween gift. As she'd walked up to Ryan's apartment building, she'd glanced up at his balcony and caught him making out with a redhead in a miniskirt. Marlo had been so startled that she'd dropped the jack-o'-lantern she'd carved onto the pavement, splattering pumpkin pieces across her favorite leggings. Marlo knew she shouldn't have let the Lululemon sales clerk talk her into buying white pants. What a mistake. 12 hours later, it was still easier to focus on her poor choice in legwear than her horrible track record with men. Hopefully bleach would get those stains out. Otherwise, the leggings were going into the trash, right next to the stack of bridal magazines she had been secretly hoarding. Now, Marlo wore a navy blue dress and a stretchy velvet fabric that the bride had chosen. Her long brown hair cascaded down her back, and the black ballet flats she wore were comfortable. The only bothersome part of her ensemble were the chandelier earrings, which were too heavy. Marlo wasn't a bridesmaid. Julia Harper was 5 years her senior and had so many friends from high school that her wedding party was stacked. Instead, Marlo was in charge of the guest book, where she still felt honored to help. Marlo was Julia's bar fitness instructor at the Cascade Athletic Club, and they'd known each other for years. Marlo took a long sip of water and stared up at the head table where Julia and Aaron gazed at each other adoringly, huge smiles on their faces. Aaron's infant nephew, Jack, was in a high chair next to them, attended by one of the many bridesmaids. Marlo sighed without meaning to, and looked back at her water glass. "Don't slouch," said her father, Chuck Jonas, owner and manager of the Cascade Athletic Club. "You know how I feel about slouching." "Zip it," said Marlo's mother. Laura Jonas had long gray hair that she wore parted down the middle, its color complementing the purple cotton dress she wore. Crystals dangled from her earlobes and hung around her neck. Laura was a big believer in the healing power of crystals to overcome anything, even her dislike of the yacht club. "Marlo is 24 years old, and you don't get to boss her around anymore." "I am her boss." Chuck sat ramrod straight. "And it reflects poorly on the club when our Pilates instructor slouches." "Yes, but I'm also the spin instructor," said Marlo, pulling a lock of her chestnut hair behind her ear. "I hunch over my bike all the time." She didn't intend to be impertinent, but at least one of her parents had raised her to stick up for herself. "I'd have better posture if I weren't so exhausted. Have you given Dahlia her hours back like I asked? I can't keep teaching 5 classes a day. You're putting me at risk for another injury." "Don't be ridiculous." Chuck waved his hand in the air like he was brushing the notion aside. In the past few months, he'd doubled Marlo's workload. Unlike the other fitness instructors who earned by the hour, Marlo was on salary and took home the same paycheck no matter how many classes she taught. "The added exercise has been good for you. It combats all the carbs you've been eating since you quit dancing." He pointed at Marlo's bread plate, and she was thankful the other guests couldn't hear his disparaging comment over the loud music. "I would never have quit ballet." Marlo slumped forward for a second before she sat up straight again. "I had a career-ending injury. There's a difference." Marlo winced, remembering how her torn ACL had ruined her first and last season with Seattle's Pacific Northwest Ballet Company. "The double class load at the gym isn't good for me. My physical therapist says I have to be careful with my knee." Marlo stretched her leg out underneath the table and flexed her foot. "Plus, I've been so exhausted that I haven't had any time for myself or my relationship."
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.